need a campfire or anything, but I have that.
Yeah, but good luck finding stuff to burn.
The question is, how do we meet?
So let me give you a little. I'll read you some of the "Welcome to the Far North" information. So you guys are in Icewind Dale. You're north of the spine of the world and west of the towering Ragged Glacier. It's a place that few dare to explore and let alone inhabit. Uh, sorry, I'm trying to find my cadence. This icy land of windswept tundra became locked in perpetual dark winter without reprieve. Arl the Frost Maiden, the divine embodiment of winter's fury, has withdrawn to this cold corner of the world to live among mortals. You yourselves have seen her every night right before midnight. She takes the sky on the back of a white rock and weaves a spell that prevents the sun from rising. Uh, so the land has basically been perpetually dark for a good amount of time. The plants here are starting to die. What was uh, the people are starting to suffer since the waterways that they fish in have begun to freeze over. Um, it's generally miserable, as most Dungeons and Dragons settings are, because why wouldn't you adventure if everything was happy? So you guys have all ended up in a town called Dugan's Hole. And I'll actually just drop you on that map so that you can see it. This is one of the more insular and small towns, but it's also the place where you guys got sort of shunted to when you tried to visit other places and they kind of looked at you and, you know, either drove you away with spears or refused to do any sort of business with you. Um, the photo you found have been kind of odd, and I don't know if that's going to make you. I drug you to a different map, but I don't know. Did you guys go to another map?
I see a black thing.
It's all black.
Okay.
Black.
Yeah, let me see. It's probably got dynamic lighting, because why not? There you go. Because you don't need. It's just a. Can you see it now? Oh, I might not even put tokens on here. Tokens help, right? Is there an easy way to like put everybody's token on a page other than dragging them out every time?
There.
Can you see there now?
I can see it before you drag the tokens out. Yep, can see it.
Yep,
Yeah, and
see it.
I also got very strong Nightmare Moon vibes from the from reading about the Frost Maiden. Yeah, so no surprise there.
But I know what that little like circle of what looks like whatever that is.
The
Like,
Thrun. That may have been one of the things that made you and Ile stick around. Um, guess you could roll. You guys that are proficient in history could roll a history roll, and I could tell you about that. But let me finish explaining Dugan's Hole. So, like as I said, Dugan's Hole is a bit odd. Population here is very small, and the folk that you have encountered have been a little weird. You've noticed sharp teeth. They all look human, but you notice that some of them have really like sharp, unusually sharp teeth for humans, and their ears are kind of misshapen, and they just seem a little off. You're not sure if it's inbreeding. Another thing you notice is that everybody seems to look like everybody else. So, you're not. They could be your brother, your sister. They all look the same. Very homogenous population here. But like it or not, this is the place that you ended up because these people have their own quirks and begrudgingly have allowed you to stick around for a while. So, if you guys want to introduce your characters, can do that now.
So
Okay.
first thing-
Where are we meeting?
You know,
if you want, if that's easier for you, GM.
and if you guys want to like role play out that you're meeting in a tavern, but I was just gonna have you like introduce your characters first, and then you guys can interact. But I'll drop you in a tavern.
I was just gonna
Where
have
did I put
Ilay
it?
wandering through the streets because she's standing
Well,
out.
you probably would not be wandering through the streets because it's so cold here.
That's a
Hardly
good point.
anyone ever stays outside. You notice arrive in the town, there's nobody out there. They're all hiding inside or way out on the ice, scraping together, what they can. God, there's so many maps. How do I drag you guys down here? There you go. Okay. That's probably going to be black too, right?
Nope.
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 All right.
See everybody.
And you guys do
these
have
people
tokens,
dwarves
right?
or humans?
They're all humans. They're just really bundled up.
Because I was just thinking, because that token there makes me think of.
She's a dwarf. That is a dwarf. That is the one lone dwarf sticking out in this tavern. But everybody else here is human or whatever the people that live here are.
So the first thing you guys would notice is that I'm probably the tallest of any of you. A staggering oh darn it, what am I? Oh, there you go. 6'8" bugbear, but I've seen previously, rather than being dressed in like armor or anything like that, I am dressed in something that's akin to a suit, more of like a scholar's outfit. Like tight buttons and breast pockets and saddlebag sort of stuff slung over onto the side and everything like that. Kind of like a very scholarly gleam. Just kind of wandering through, like just very nicely dressed for a bugbear, and for a lot of adventurers to come to speak.
I mean, I'm guessing your cold weather gear would be a little posh because really you can't see anybody's clothes with all the crap.
Not horribly posh, not rich screaming, but more like I take pride in my appearance, and haven't been around too many cold environments. Sort of gear.
Is missing cold weather gear on their pet character sheet. You get a free set basically just by being in the game, so feel free to add that.
Yeah, I think I need to add that.
Do you know how to drag and drop from the compendium? I should have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They only have the cold weather clothing though.
Yeah, it's cold weather clothing. That's basically
Okay.
I
what
got
it
it on
is.
D&D Beyond, so we're good.
But basically, the tavern here is very small. Not too much warmer than the outside. There's a little stove it reeks in here of like wet wool and burning whale oil here. There's two little stoves that are burning whale oil to keep warm since there's no wood in this area for them to burn, so they pretty much completely rely on whalers oil for heating. That's why most of the locals are all huddled up around this one stove here, trying to keep quote unquote warm, even though you guys, it's not much warmer than it is outside in here.
Mhm.
But yeah. So if the rest of you guys want to introduce yourselves, or at least describe your characters and such, and then you can meet up.
All right. The next to walk in the tavern is an orc, just an inch shorter than the bugbear, standing at 6. She's heavily muscular and wears fur pants lined with fur, and a white shirt under it. And wrapped around herself is a long, very long piece of material. It looks like it's a I forget the word. I'm not good with words. Let me Tardan in our world it would be called Tardan.
Like a plaid. Or
Yeah, plaid. Yeah. Blue, green, bit of black. She says she's currently wrapped around herself like a shawl. But it's a hooded shawl. She pulls down the hood and curls of bright red pop out, framing her olive green face, tusks gleaming in the little light.
just imagine uncles are getting more and more nervous as they were nervous when the bugbear walked in. Now they're getting a little bit more nervous as the orc walks in. But they're still not getting up from the tables. They're just, looking at you.
Mhm.
You guys see a just fire genasi, coal black skin that has kind of little breaks in it where you can see like fire peeking through. Looks like fire. Her eyebrows and hair are flame, moves like flame, all of that. The eyes are where the whites of the eyes would be. It's completely black. The only color that her eyes have are the irises, and they're like a molten gold. She's judging off of her face, like she's pretty skinny, and she's probably about like 5'7".
Followed by everybody else walking into the tavern. She is 6'1" tall elf. Her strangely pale, like she hasn't seen the sun in a long time. Her hair is black. She seems to like to wear black. That would be sort of black furs. She just kind of walks in and looks at each of you and just nods and smiles.
Ile is standing there with a notebook, just kind of like jotting down notes. She closes it with a snap and is looking back at the orc, and greets her in Orcish. And says, "Hun, you look like you'll be a little cold with what you're wearing. I can see your tattoos, and it's so cold out there. You don't want your skin to be out in that cold."
Hannah kind of grins at you. Well, as best she can with her tusks peeking out. She's like the cold, and it's in what could only be described as a Scottish accent, and I can't do it. The cold never bothered me anyway, lass.
In
As she holds out,
Go ahead.
she holds out a hand and says, "I was like Hannah Gra Hammond at your service."
Ile, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And she says this in common now.
Hannah nods.
What languages do I speak?
That's a good question.
Yeah, Dwarvis, Elvis, and Primordial, so.
Uh,
See the locals like they're still eyeing you all up. They kind of tensed up when you guys were talking at Orcish, but then when you started talking Common, they kind of calmed down a little. After a few minutes, they sort of, since you haven't killed them yet or done anything, threatening, they kind of go back to chattering about local goings on.
so which ones are talking? all the locals?
They're kind of just chatting across the table to each other. You hear bits of conversation about fishing and the last whale oil shipment is running low and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys want to parlay with each other a little bit more before I start throwing quests at you, or if
They was going to talk to the bartender.
yeah, go for it. I don't want to. I can drop some quest hooks, but I don't want to until you guys are ready for them. So just let me know, I guess. But go ahead.
I think that Helena would stop here and just listen to the conversation and take notes.
Ile kind of sits down on the bar stool and looks at the bartender and tries to give him a grin, even though of course she's got tusks showing. Hello, sir. What sort of warm drinks do you have here?
He looks at you and he says, "Warm drinks? I guess I could heat up some ale for you."
Well, if you just have ale, that's fine. I just figured that maybe you had something warm to drink in such a cold place like this.
I mean, locals just drink to get warm.
Ah, lovely. I'll try some of that. And
It's like we really just serve alcohol here. Have a little bit of food, but not much.
What kind of food do you have?
He glances back behind him and I know there's cheese and bread on the thing, but he's got some dried trout, smoked dried trout. There's some managed to trade for some caribou jerky, but most of the stuff here is going to be dried or smoked. They don't really have a lot of fresh stuff.
Anything smoked sounds wonderful.
So he would pull out these. Basically, they look like jerky strips, but there's some kind of fish and some kind of you really can't tell the difference between them because they're these little shriveled brown bits. I don't know the price. I don't know the price.
Do produce flame in my hands and just burn them to a crisp and then start eating them.
Hannah glances over to you interesting cooking method there, lassie. Barkeep, what's a girl around here need to do to get a drink?
Keeper just looks at you and says, ask for one?
I suppose I deserve that. Can I have a pint of your strongest swill you have?
He would just pull out a mug of dubious cleanliness and go over and fill it from one of the barrels and then slap it, put it down in front of you. Not slap it down, but set it down in front of you. He's he's just basically usually your kind are trying to stab me rather than ask for a beer. This is a bit weird even for this place.
Hannah shrugs just trying to get home to the wife. You know how it is. She'll be so pissed that I am taking so long.
You see Ile pulling out that...
I have no time for random stabbings.
That notebook again and is immediately jotting all this information down as if it's the most fascinating thing she's ever heard.
Just look over at, you're getting all this right.
It looks up. Oh, I'm dreadfully sorry. I was just taking some notes on that. I suppose the orcs up here are considered savages by the local human establishments. Yes.
Well, yeah. The barkeeper was like, well, yeah. They regularly raid our already meager supplies.
I see. And she keeps writing some stuff down. Have you ever tried... have any of your people attempted to parley with the orcs, or do they just attack without provocation?
Pretty much just attack without provocation. They decided, we're weak, and
She nods. Sounds good.
Honestly,
Starts jotting down some more notes.
Hannah nods and says, the will of Groomish. She sips at her drink. Says, parley might not be possible unless we pose a stronger threat.
And yeah, about this time, Helena would walk up and sit on the stool and look at the barkeep and says, "What do you have to drink?"
he just says yeah, beer and rot gut.
Ah, how much for?
I
How
can't think
much?
of anything gross that it would be like fermented lakeweed or something disgusting like that.
How much for a drink of beer?
You know, I don't have my DMG to figure that out, so
I mean, like, we're all non-human, so.
yeah, it would be double what he'd be charging the locals, but I don't know what he's charging the locals. Let me see if I can find a. You have to dig it out.
I might be
have
able
high
to find some of that
charisma, though.
info on
So like
Compendium.
an ale would be like 4 silver.
Well, I
You
just
know,
pulled it up.
a basic dinner would be 5 silver. We're actually 10. He would charge it because you're not local.
And we're weirdos on top of
So
that.
10, so roughly a gold for a meal, and
Yeah, he's basically taking advantage of you because you're not from here.
all right. He just simply smiled, and I put 2 gold on the counter. I said, "Keep the change."
He would whisk that away quicker than you can change your mind. He's from the looks of this place and this town, they don't have a lot of money. And you probably just like helped him buy like a half a barrel of whale oil to keep his house warm.
I'll slap down a gold piece as well and say, "This is for the meal, and I'll also take an ale, but I want my change back."
So looking at
So
the orc to my right, I say, "My name is Hannah, or not Hannah. It's Helena. What is your name?"
Hannah looks to you and introduces herself. It's like, I am Hannah Graham and at your service, lassie.
Well met.
She nods and takes another long sip of her ale.
These metal bugs that we're drinking out of, or are they wood?
Probably be either like clay, like clay or metal. They don't have a lot of wood around here. Like the tables and hot or
I want
A
to
metal mug would be really cold.
I was gonna say I want to heat up my boiling before I drink it. It's my produced flame.
price guide in the back here of the book. They have a million appendices, but not anything that tells me anything useful.
Ilay turns to the fire genasi and holds out one of her big hands. I'm Ilay. Who are you?
That would be Cinder, and I like hold out my hand, but realize that it's still lit up with flame, so I'll just like pull it back, shake it off really quick, and then extend it again.
And shake. You seem almost out of place in such circumstances.
Yes, well, I'm here trying to do some research, and
Oh, same as
didn't
me.
realize quite what I was walking into.
That's wonderful.
What are you researching?
Oh, I'm researching the various cultures up here and various legends associated with them.
Yeah. What have you found out so far?
Well, so far, that most of the people do not take well to bugbears, unfortunately, even though I am, and and such. I never tried explaining that to them, but they still think that I am wild and uncivilized, which is a bit of a shame on their part, but, it adds to the research. Perceptions.
So you would notice as you're saying that Helena would actually start making notes of her own. And
Hannah's the only one who did not taking notes. Instead, she's just drinking her ale.
well, and one point, I'm not a researcher. I'm actually a bard, and I'm making notes in case I need to make any songs about any of you.
Well, bards can be researchers too, hun. Okay.
Well, if you need a song to play, then I can sing you one. Start singing, but like some crackling.
Barkeeper at some point would say to you guys, it's not just that you're strange, but 10 towns in general, this is the place where people tend to come when they want to disappear on something.
Oh,
He basically says, you kind of have to earn the trust of the people here. They've been too many come here to cause trouble, trying to get away from from the trouble that they already caused. I'd suggest talking to the town elder here, Speaker. Oh God, where the fuck is her name?
that's a bad name.
Speaker Dermot. Speaker Dermot of the town. She might be able to give you some ideas of the type of things you could do to earn people's trust around here.
The Speaker Dermot?
Yes. Edgra Dermot. Durmoot if you're taking notes.
Where would we find her?
He says her house is in the middle of town, right at the top of the docks.
Hun, and he's addressing the
I
bartender.
say,
I guess
we're not meaning to cause any trouble.
Do you sell rooms here? I mean, rent them.
He kind of frowns. He's like, well, we don't really get too many travelers here. The best I could do is there's a shed out back that they used to keep dogs in. I could let you sleep there. You can even sleep there for free. I can't charge you for
that is quite
that.
kind of you.
Hannah nods and then looks at you like and says, "If we all share blankets, we will all be warm." And she kind of nods and kind of takes another long sip of her ale, like body warmth is the best warmth.
I'm very warm, and I just run over and give him a hug.
Hannah pats your head and says, "Yes, you are very warm. Not as warm as my wife, though."
Throw another quest at you guys if you're ready. Just because it seems to be rolling around, and one of the locals pipes up from the table. Over here, hearing that the barkeep told you to talk. Maybe they want to go to them kids. These wolves, the talking wolves, came and took 2 kids, and now they're trying to get us to pay a ransom and food for them.
Talking wolves?
Talking wolves?
Werewolves?
That sounds interesting.
He's like, yeah, big things, like big as a horse.
Wargs?
They're wolves. Well, I mean, I don't know if they would just call them wolves. I don't think they would.
Can I roll
know the difference?
Can I roll a nature check to see if I know? I mean, I speak Orcish, but I'm not an orc. And a goblin. Bleh. Can I roll some sort of check to see if I know anything about wargs?
Can I go do it too?
Sure, if you guys are proficient in nature.
I'm not proficient in nature.
But you're from. I mean, orcs and wargs tend to go together. So I guess since you're from your nature of being an orc,
okay.
I'll let you roll it.
Oof.
Can I roll a history instead of a nature?
Yeah, I'm very proficient in history. And
I
Connor,
guess.
for that matter.
I don't know what like history wise if that would give you anything about.
That's on you. If you say it's just nature, it's just nature.
Yeah, I would just say nature, like, because you would be wanting to know if they were native to this area or not. If you know what they're talking about.
Oh God.
Sounds quite unusual. Talking wolves. All I can think of
something,
is werewolves. But,
I was thinking the same, but I don't know if the character would really know anything about that. But that's the only wolf I could think of that would be that big and would talk.
Yeah, checking to make sure that wargs can talk. It does say language, goblin, and warg.
Yeah, I know out of character that wargs can definitely talk.
Yeah, sometimes the stat block will say that they understand the languages, but they can't speak them. So that's what I was checking on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, as far as Hannah knows, that she knows that wargs can talk, so they could be wargs. But you know, that's I don't know if they would. I guess they would be up here if there were goblins up here because they tend to hang out with them.
Hannah's going to kind of say, like, could be wargs. If there are orcs, wargs are usually not far. And they do speak. I remember my mother's old warg, best friends with her. And she kind of grins, like, taught me all the swears I know. Mother was pleased. At first.
Chuckles a bit. Then perhaps you might be able to talk with them. And she's looking right at Hannah when she says that.
Hannah, you a grin.
Works, perhaps.
Hannah kind of lifts her face like, I'll be bait. You can fetch the children. Or perhaps she looks to the Eli. What? Sorry.
Eli.
Like Cinder and or perhaps a more less scary friends can go fetch the children while we distract the wargs. All we need is a big stick.
Well, I'm pretty good at being. Eli looks, nods her head at and it's kind of like waves her hand.
I'm somewhat. If you want me to try to get the children.
Oh, if being quiet and wildly around the requirement, I'm quite good at that. I've had to stay on a number of occasions, and also keep my head down when people would otherwise be hurling insults, and just try to blend into the background. As strange it might seem, it does sometimes work.
Hannah kind of taps her fingers against the bar and says, but lassie, what I am most concerned about is the children seeing you and screaming in fear, and thus negating any stealth you might have.
This is true.
I'm not the most stealthy of individuals, but children do tend to love me because I look interesting. They like to play with my hair.
And some children, the ones that have never seen one of my kind before, actually think I'm fuzzy. You touch my fur.
Hannah kind of thinks like, we can deal with this later when we get there. Plans change on a whim, like the winds. And she's going to finish her drink and then kind of put the empty mug heavily on the table and fish around and put a single gold piece like for the drink and change, please. I must pay for my passage home somehow.
He would give you guys a change for Cinder and Hannah.
All right,
He's not trying to pull anything shady on you. other than double charge you.
So how many? That was what, 8 silvers for.
I think I said the food was
But I didn't get any food. I just got the.
okay.
Drink.
So the ale was 4 silver, so he'd hand you 6 back.
Okay. Got it.
I already had mine
If you
marked
got
off.
food and drink, it would be 14 total.
Nope.
Oh, you said that would be 8 total because with the food it was like what 4, and then with the drink it was 4.
The food was 5, but it would be 10, and the ale would be 4. Regular ale is 2, but he's like I said, he's upcharging you.
Mm-hmm.
And then a plain dinner, it says it's 5, which would be 10.
Got it.
All right. So Hannah turns like, so we deal with the children first. Get this. That I think that would probably be the most expedient way of getting the town's throat. Hope.
Yes, this is true. think I have read many a story where an outsider is become more welcomed after doing some deed, especially if rescuing children and the like are involved.
And Hannah kind of grins like, the wargs do not play nice. We kill them and bring them back and feed the town with them.
Meat is edible.
Well, for orcs. I assume so, right? Meat is meat.
It's made out of meat. You can eat it, right? I'm pretty sure you could probably fetch a pretty price for their.
Yeah, except I kind of want to keep the furs, keep us warm. But yeah, it's a
Where to go find some children.
He would suggest that you meet with the speaker first, since she knows, where they're coming from, kind of.
Onward to go see Speaker DeBoot.
Yep.
Buddy.
That sounds like a
Drag
grand
your
idea.
butts to a map.
Oh, you're wet. Why are you wet?
It's wet.
My cat, I went to pet him and he's wet. We have a spray bottle that whenever they're being bad, we spray him. I didn't know my fiance had sprayed him, so now I just have cat hair and water on me.
Fun.
This little building here is the tavern, and then this is the little shed that he offered you guys to sleep in, just for reference.
Okay.
You can see my really light blue on the map there.
Yeah.
And the speaker's house is, like he said, this big one right on top of the dock. And I don't have a map for that. So we're just going to do Theater of the Mind. I don't think I have a map for that.
Okay.
I didn't make one, at least.
Theater of the Mind is fine by me.
The Mind Palace of Imagination.
Yeah, I don't have a map for that. I did make a map for the drafty shed that you can sleep in, but it did not make a map. But yeah, so it's sort of getting like later in the day point. I said you figured you guys would have hit town like midday, spent some time in the tavern. Now you're gonna meet with the speaker. Kind of the housekeeper kind of looks at you a little odd, but like everybody else, elves, patchy hair, weird pointy teeth. And she let you in and takes you to the speaker. It doesn't do a good job of describing the speaker at all. You just see it's a older woman. She looks like she's been around the block a few times. This place, she's got to be like in her 50s. But since she's living here, she looks like she's in her 80s or something. So she looks pretty beat. She's like, you're the newcomers that came into town. What are you looking for? Like, what can I help you with?
Well, we were.
Well, we were told in the tavern that missing by apparently wargs. We were wondering if you would have any information about that. We may try to get these children back.
Some kind of large wolves. Yes, we would like to help.
Nods, and she's like, I'm pretty sure they're already dead, but a bunch
Even
of the
so-
townsfolk want to go out and try to save them, but we already have such a small population that I've forbidden them from doing that, and the wolves are demanding food.
Yeah.
Like, but if you guys want to go out and see what's going on, either rescue the children or, in the worst case scenario, kill the wolves so they can't take any more. You know, she'd offer to put in a good word with you with the council of speakers, who are the kind of the ruling body in 10 towns. Each she would explain that each town has a representative, and they meet every now and then, and she would give you a letter that you could take to another town and hopefully get a little bit more credibility than you found.
That is most generous. We will do what we can to sort out this wolf problem and hopefully get the children back.
If we can't bring them back alive, then at least we can try to bring back their bodies for their families to bury properly.
She nods,
those-
and she would ask, know anything about traveling around here? You know, how long have you been in Icewind? In 10 towns?
Hannah's going to kind of think like, I do not recall. I was on the ship and now I am here.
Pretty
I'm
much.
sure.
I'm pretty much the same. I got here.
Well,
She would say, "Well, since I can't send you out there in good conscience without a little bit of advice, if you go out in the snow, make sure you have good gear. Make sure you have lanterns, because it's dark, but you guys probably don't have to worry about that out of on the side, since you're all able to see." And she says, get some rope and tie yourselves together. When the blizzards blow up, it's hard to keep track of one another, and you might lose a friend.
that
and
is really good advice.
She's just giving you some basic, like, how to survive out, if you're going out into the tundra. And she's like, the blizzards have been blowing up since Arl started her witchery.
That is quite fascinating. How
Guess
the
if any of you... Go ahead.
not fascinating but horrifying, of course, and I agree that it is most definitely horrifying, but from a perspective, it is fascinating.
Just laid our trap in the town. And do we know that she's trapping the whole thing in Eternal Winter?
Is being kept in a winter. Like, summer has come and gone at least one time.
Hands gone.
You wouldn't know it being out. You wouldn't know unless you've asked people about how long it's been going on. But as outsiders, but you've definitely heard and seen her at some point cast a spell in your time here, because it's very.
Hannah.
And if any of you are, you can, if you know about.
Nope, not proficient.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. I mean, offhand, you would know that Arl is some sort of deity, but not it. You've heard mention that she's a
no idea why she chose this place just to wrath on.
The speaker shakes her head and says, "No, she showed up 2 years ago and started once a month or once a week. Don't light any fire. That's their sex." She says,
sounds
"But to
horrible.
appease her."
Since then, Hannah's going to look to her like, "Oh, she said. Did she say that out loud? That nothing appeased her." If she will not devotion, then she is unworthy of your devotion. Please stop it.
I'm not devoted to her. We're just trying to.
I've been here 2 years, so clearly. Why?
I look at
Why
Hannah.
hurt yourself?
I just kind of feel fear.
Hannah kind of, not really snarls, but she definitely shows her tusk. Like, I am orc. I lived in your stronghold. Like, I know the ways of Grimosh. Fear, respect, appeasing, and that. It is all the same.
Fair enough.
And she kind
Something
of
real
mutters to
quick.
herself in Orcish, like, he is not good for my people.
So we could hear.
Doesn't say anything about. I was seeing whether not doing the things makes it worse, but it doesn't say anything about that. So, but the people are superstitious, and they're doing whatever they can to hopefully make her stop. But she's a bitch, so she's not okay.
Hey, we know Hannah's.
I guess you guys would probably want to wait until morning to set out. Since, I mean, not that you can really tell it's morning, but it does definitely get darker at night. It's basically during the day.
Is that in character? Just keep your clothes on.
Full black fire genasi could blush.
You guys, it's